Why don't we call this meeting to order of the Finance Committee for June 7th? And we have all 6 members present, so that is excellent. So we have a quorum, so we can conduct business. So we'll move to number 2, and we need to have approval of the meeting minutes for April 13th and May 3rd. April 13th is the special meeting, so may I have a motion? We have a motion by member Rosemond and a second by member Rogal. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We did get the bills for this committee, and the treasurer, or excuse me, the auditor has certified that they comply with the adopted ordinances, resolutions, and policies, and they total $873,567.27. May I have a motion to approve to pay the bills? Member Friedrich, and we have a second by Vice Chair Lehman. Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Very good. Motion passes. Bills are paid. Do we have any appearances by members of the public or county employees?
Chair Metzger, we have had no request for this committee.
Very good. We will move on to departmental matters, and that moves us to 4A, and that is Tim Jorzak, and he is our supervisor of assessment, and he gave us some more information on, good information on our sales and really township evaluation, farmland values. And do you want to give us a Cliff Notes on that?
Yeah, sure. So
Please.
thank you very much for having me here. The big thing I want to talk about, I'm not going to dwell on it too much because I'm not be too far into the weeds for what the time we've got here, and I don't want to put you through all that. But I have gotten, in the time since our last meeting, I have gotten my sales ratio report from the state. That kind of tells us how much work we're going to have to do to get values up to what the market is doing. As you know, we look back retrospectively for 3 years worth of sales information. So even though there are a lot of indications that the market is cooling off a bit from where it was in last year, we're still trying to play catch up by law from what sales have been doing for the last 18 to 24 months. So those numbers are in, and it's looking like we're going to have another year of increases, frankly, more than we had last year. So we're looking at, I think last year we were at about 6% was the state's, the requirement that we need to be made. This year it's going to be at 10% for most of the townships in the county. And again, that's either going to be from a combination of what the townships do. This is the quadrennial year, so they're supposed to revalue every parcel in the county, in their jurisdiction. So between that work and then the work I get from, the numbers I get from the state, we have to get up to about, it's looking like a 10% increase. It's pretty consistent across the county. So it's kind of one of those things where it is what it is. I mean, if I don't do it, the Department of Revenue is going to do it, and they're going to do it with a lot less subtlety than than I'm going to be able to. So it's a matter of getting word out to the public that, hey, we're still we're still working off of these sale prices from the last 2 years, and you can expect more increases over that time.
Sorry. What plans do you have from a communication perspective? Are we looking at meetings? Are we looking at public or newspaper publications, something like that? Because I know last year there were lots of people that were very concerned and spoke to me multiple, from the township perspective as well as from county boards. So do you have any plans at this point, or do you know what you might think of doing to
So-
help us better prepare the public for the increase that is going to happen?
Yeah, yeah. So if you'll recall, last year, we did an outreach effort. We did some public hearings out in the county, which was great. We hit 5 different locations. We are going to look to do something similar this year, with the exception that I don't know if we're going to try to consolidate it down maybe a little bit more. A new thing we're doing this year is we have a table at the county fair that we're going to have a presence there as much as we can get, as much as we can staff. It's a joint effort. Been working with Treasurer McNeil and Clerk Michael as well to kind of make sure we have a unified county finance presence out there at the fair. So we are going to be doing that, and then any other methods we have to get word out to the public, be it, I went on WGLT last year and gave just a heads up of what was going to happen and what we were going to be doing. So we're going to maintain those efforts, but it's always good if, the folks like you who are the elected representatives kind of know and can be liaisons for the public that way as well.
Any questions? Member Erickson?
Yeah, I would just respectfully suggest that if you do get a tent at the county fair, you not put it next to the Republican Party or the Democrat Party. Just keep them separate. We had that issue a few years ago.
Member Friedrich?
Could you define a farm?
Define a farm. Wow.
How about a farm with a house?
Like a farmstead?
Yep.
So it's going to be split between the agricultural portion of the property and then the dwelling. So the dwelling is going to be assessed as a dwelling, as we would assess any other home. And then anything outside of the home and the immediate appurtenances of the home, depending on its use, is going to be either assessed as excess land or as farm. And that's going to depend on if it's in production, if it's being, if it's got farm buildings on it. There are a number of things that go into that as well.
So would that be the non-farm weighted factor in the Illinois Department Revenue?
So and that's a good question. What the non-farm weighted factor is, farmland is assessed differently. Farmland is assessed based on a state formula, and it's based on a use value and not a market sales value. So when they talk about non-farm value, farm is not going to get the same type of increase that they're not going to get that 10% that's going on every other property. Farmland is valued differently, so its increases are going to be put on differently. Its valuation changes. And that's what I put in my report last month, where those were actually the farmland values for next year that we were looking at, that I put in that report. But, over the last couple of years, those have kind of consistently trended because of the way the farmland valuation formula works. That's another situation where they're playing catch up to some market indicators from the past. And so that has been consistently trending up as well. But it's a little bit of a different beast than what we're dealing with here.
Have you considered putting out more information in the flyers when you put the mailings out to the taxpayer?
Yeah, we have.
To elaborate further on, because 10%'s pretty substantial.
Yeah,
And like colored big letters, look, this is what you're gonna expect. And we are just passing it along from the state.
Correct. That's one of the difficulties I found in doing this, is that I try to be as clear as I can with the rationale for why these changes are made. And it's still a fairly opaque process. And it's difficult for a lot of folks to wrap their heads around. That's why I do the public sessions, because I can then take, an hour, 45 minutes to an hour to explain. And it does take every bit of 45 minutes to an hour to adequately explain the way the equalization process works. So I do have some information that as we now have our new website, which is great, beautiful website, great work done on that. Now that we're there, we're going to put some of the more graphic visualizations that I've built to show how the equalization process. We're going to try to put that online to make it a little bit more clear for how equalization works. But yeah, I do agree with you that the easier we can make it for folks to understand, will go a long way in helping diffuse some of the potential, questions of what's going on.
We have a lot of elderly and absentee farm landowners, so just thought I'd share that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you knew that. Thank you.
I do think that's a interesting approach, because when we get our assessments in the mail, they're either blue or pink or yellow or whatever color they are, and that might be a time to help them understand. I don't know. You can never give enough information, but as you've indicated, and as we know because of your public meetings in the past, that the people who come gather a lot of information, have really good questions, and they are able to walk away feeling comfortable. Nobody ever likes it, right? But they feel comfortable with that process. But when they don't come, and that's when you probably see them in your office, or we have contact with people that the county is raising our taxes, and that's usually what we hear. So I would just, again, encourage as much communication as we can to help people understand that the EAV is going up, which will then, in turn, depending on the tax rate of an airport or the tax rate of a school district, will then impact that total from that EAV. So,
Well, I think it's interesting too. If you look at a lot of rates this year actually dropped because of there are a lot of different factors. You guys all know the ins and outs of what goes into how the tax rate's set versus how the EAV works. But a lot of tax rates went down this year, and a lot of it was because of the increase in EAV from the equalization factors that we put on. So it's a push and pull. You guys know that. It's how those factors balance out. But yeah, we're trying as many ways as we can to make the public aware of what we're doing.
and finals are usually late October, right?
Yeah, so what we're looking at this year, we're kind of whiteboarding it right now. You can see the townships are I have most of their books in. I'm still waiting on about 7 of them. I anticipate all but 2 of them will be in before the end of June. We're looking to have most of the county published by late July, early August, as for our publication date for most of the county. That will give around the beginning of September as a deadline. That's when we'll start hearings. We try to have the books closed by December 31st. The Board of Review makes it their goal to have books closed and done, last hearings by December 31st, and so we can close out and take it through the rest of the spring. Again, with it being a quad year, that's a lot more work from some of the townships, and so I don't want to say we'll be done by December 31st because you just don't know. I'm not going to predict the future, but yeah, that's what we're shooting for.
All right, are there any other questions for Mr. Josek? Thank you very much. Let us know if you need us to help you with anything.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to 4B, and that is Michelle Anderson, and I know Michelle is here. She probably will give us a little heads up on what's going on with the audit, and then I think you're probably going to share a little information about quarterly reports, I'm assuming, is that correct?
Sure. Is this on? Okay, he left it on. So yes, the outside audit, they've gotten 2 drafts. So my intention is to have it here in July. But I can't do it before they give me an opinion. So that is my goal. They've got 2 drafts, and I push, pull, and nag. My husband would tell you I'm not good at that, but 15 years of experience here. That is my anticipation. As soon as those numbers go final, I can present quarterlies, because I don't want to present fund balances until I know they've reviewed those and they're confident with those. And then to bring us up with some good news, since Mr. Jorsek kind of has us on a little downer. Sorry. The administration asked me to let you guys know that for the 37th year, the county has received the GFOA award for our ACFR. And I just got notified this week that for the 11th year in a row, the PAFR, the pretty colored that you all like, got the GFOA award as well. So that is good. It's a little late.
Congratulations.
Thank
I
you.
think that is there's a lot of effort going into that, and it's being reflected in the acknowledgments that you're receiving. So thank you very much. And I think Ms. McNeil helps provide you with some of that information. So thank you over there, too, for helping with getting all of that in and submitting it on a timely basis, accurately, and people are acknowledging that. So we need to acknowledge it, too. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions from anyone? Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll look forward to hopefully July. All right, very
Thanks.
good. Thank you so very much. We're moving on to 4D, and we have items for action. So we have 4D1A, Kathy Michael. That's a request approve. Oh, I'm jumping forward. Becky McNeil, you're here, and I'm so sorry. I just had Kathy Michael on the brain. Okay, we'll do 4C, 1A, Becky McNeil, Rebecca McNeil, County Treasurer, and that's accept and place on file the county's treasurer monthly financial report. May I have a motion to put that on the floor? We have a motion by Vice Chair Lehman and a second by Member Roseman. And you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Before I present my report, I just want to echo what Tim was talking about. We have one of the most amazing assessors. I think we are so fortunate in McLean County. I have very close connections with other counties in the state of Illinois, larger counties, St. Clair County, Kane County. All of them are very, very, very positive when I talk about our assessor here in McLean County. He's turning red over there. But the thing is that Tim does an amazing job educating, and not just educating the public and educating here at the county board level, but also at the state level. And we just rolled off of conference in April, and Tim played a part in creating a joint session where we could talk about ways in which we could educate our constituents and what we do here in McLean County. So, and it's very, very real. Just because assessments are going up, it does not mean the tax rates have to go up. The thing that keeps those tax rates down are levies. And ultimately, it comes back to the levy. What the taxing body levies And that's what the assessment does. The assessment spreads that out. And there were several tax rates that did go down, but there were many, many that went up, taxing bodies that took advantage of that increase in EAV. This year was the single largest increase that I have seen on the collection side and distribution side in all my years of being with McLean County. We're up to 395 million now. And so it's very real, and assessment is not the primary driver of property tax bills and the increase in a property tax bill. But anyway, the first report that you have is the tax report, and our tax revenue for the month of May, $2,172,000, compared to $2,319,000 a year ago. One of the things that we're going to see in 2020, state fiscal year 2024, which is going to be starting from the county in July, it's going to probably take a month or two to catch up, is a significant drop in PPRT. We received a letter from the state of Illinois, and that their estimates for their 21 returns have finally gone through full audit, and they anticipate making significant changes to our distributions coming in 2024. With that said, we, my colleagues, in 102 counties throughout the state of Illinois, or 101, we all have said, why can't you figure out a way to balance this out and help us avoid these steep increases and steep decreases? It's very difficult for local governments, kind of like an assessment world where they take a change and they average it over a 3-year period of time, use data, average it out over a 3-year period of time. Unfortunately, for Illinois Department of Revenue, it's just not that easy. But we'll see what happens with PPRT, just giving you a little heads up about that notice that was sent out that is to impact state fiscal year 2024.
May I ask a question regarding
yes,
that?
yeah.
So when you put that in the budget, that's, I mean, because we just did budgets for township,
Yeah.
and I specifically told our road commissioner not to put a lot in there, because even though we received a lot, I don't know where it's going to be. So what are your plans for that PPRT in the budget?
So as far as the budget goes, all I can do is communicate that to administration, and they build that into the budget, actually. But what the state of Illinois will do is they will put a PPRT estimate out on their website, and fortunately, that should be released before administration creates the 2024 budget and brings that to you. But I mean, I have always said, and it is true, we're at the mercy of the state of Illinois. I mean, this PPRT for years, the calculations have gone back and forth based on these estimated returns. When they finally get around to auditing, then they do an adjustment to bring it to actual. And we've even seen instances where Illinois Department of Revenue, the adjustments are not because of that, but because of errors in the calculation. I remember we had that also happen. So, I mean, all of these numbers, unfortunately, we don't get concrete, factual, supporting documentation. We're just at the mercy of the state of Illinois for what is distributed to local government. So, and that's just not with McLean County. That's with Town of Normal, City of Bloomington, townships, etc. We just kind of have to see what we get and take it. We don't have the ability to really dig deep into questioning every single number and exactly how did you get there. In my world, things are really black and white. This is the gray area. It's very difficult to get information out of the state of Illinois to concretely support these numbers. So, yes. Moving into the overall picture for 2023, year to date, we're still above where we were, just slightly, in 2022. And then looking at budget, we're about $2.2 million over budget. Obviously, that's a really good position to be in as we're starting to enter into a period where there are going to be some adjustments. State, the shared sales tax from Town of Normal and City of Bloomington, total $2,124,710 for the first 5 months of the year compared to $1,919,000. So that is still climbing above 2022, sorry. The fund equity is $16,285,000. Property tax due date was on Monday, and it has just been, first installment is like a freight train coming through. It is a real monster, but anyway, we did make a distribution prior to the end of May. We're able to push out for the county a little over $8 million, which represents 19.7% of the county levy. And then your motor fuel, you can say your regular county motor fuel and your renewal fund. It's interesting how those numbers are almost coming together there. That renewal fund, the distributions are almost as much as the regular motor fuel tax distributions. So, any questions on this? Okay. Moving on to the monthly investment report. During the month of May, I really didn't look out and go out and grab very many treasuries, primarily just busy with property tax work. But the Illinois funds rate right now, that's where we have the biggest bulk of our funds parked, besides in treasuries and CDs. Illinois funds rate is 5.20. And that's pretty astonishing compared to where we were a year ago and 2 years ago, where we were barely over 0%. So anyway, the total across all funds, 115,361,000. During the month of May is where during the month of June is where we're gonna hit our peak on this. We're going to hit our peak, and then you'll see that we're going to, we'll continue to use that tax money that's coming out throughout the rest of the year for operational purposes. But you'll start seeing us peak during the month of June and during the month of July on our balance on this report. Still looking at, looking at the rates, Treasury rates are still holding pretty steady short term, and we'll go out and we'll grab a little bit during the month of June and July, but primarily the Illinois funds rate is holding pretty steady right now too. Then the next report I have is the Blue Cross Blue Shield report. And again, this is the summary of all insurance expenses, which is the employer and the employee. I don't break down anything. It's kind of impossible to do that. Just come in here with a full summary of what the county's expenditures are, or what's being expensed to that that self-insurance plan that we have. During the month of May, the county had claims of $435,903. That's under May of 2022. Our plan right now has total claims of $2,839,000. That's up by $191,000 compared to 2022. Would be about $200,000 higher, but we got that $200,000 credit at the beginning of 2023. So that stop loss column, number 8, I point that out. Just don't forget what our stop loss fees are paying for. And as we move throughout 2023, that tends to grow as we get further along into the fiscal year. And then the final summary you have is for the Nursing Home Fund, Primary Fund 401. I had to go back and reset some of these numbers because we are still under audit. Our audit is not finalized. There were some entries that were posted to Fund 0401 back on May 17th. So I had to reset my beginning balances on fund balance. Actually went up a little bit compared to what it originally was. But you can see the revenue for the month of April, 834,000. This growth, I don't have the ability to show you over time. You can go back and look at your reports. That's a very good number to have, the 834,000 across the state of Illinois, the Medicaid private pay and the Medicare residents there. The month-to-date revenue, expenses, transfers, revenue was posted at 855,000. This is total revenue. That first area up there is just the primary sources. They have other sources of revenue like interest income and other miscellaneous revenue. But anyway, I wanted to explain why those didn't balance. 855,000, expenses 857,000. Year-to-date revenue posted, accrued 3,559,000, expenses 3,616,000. AR is 4,386,000. Please keep in mind that we've got that that's reserve set aside of 2.8 million that Mr. Wiley will utilize as we determine what this balance exactly is, whether it's collectible or not. That's all with Mr. Wiley. Cash for the month of April ended at negative 1,053,703. The fund equity ended at 1,293,695. Any questions?
I don't see any questions, so do not have anything else. So let's vote to accept and place on file the county treasurer's financial reports. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Very good. The motion passes, so they are placed on file.
Thank you. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any
Yeah,
questions. or concerns.
and thank you and your staff. I know I was in here last week, here and there, and it was crazy, and your staff was very cordial, very helpful at times that people weren't always as pleasant. So just let them know that it's acknowledged that they were
Thank you. They
doing
are
a fine job
wonderful.
representing the county.
They're wonderful.
I had
Member
Yeah.
Friedrich.
I just thought of a question. Trying to think of how to ask it. If you pay taxes electronically, I'm seeing some delays on when the county posts them as being paid.
So are you paying through our website
Yes.
electronically?
Yes.
Mhm.
Now, what's
Absolutely.
but it's not updated currently.
No, it's not. And the
What
reason
the-
why, no, there's a very legitimate reason why is that
But
when
there's
you don't-
penalty assessed to it already.
No, it'll come off when we post it.
But it's
what
not,
happens-
but it's not.
But what will happen is when you're paying electronically, I assume that what you're referring to is payment by credit card or e-check. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so we have to wait until those funds settle to our bank account. Okay, and that takes it takes a lot of times like 3 days.
It's
And then if
longer than
we-
that. It's been longer than that.
Okay, so then you need to reach out to me so I can get the parcel number and we'll go into the payment system and see exactly what's going on with it. But what happens is it takes up to 3 days for an e-check or a credit card transaction to settle to our bank account. Once we can verify that, then we'll load those up. There are several times in which what's happening during that time period, the reason why we don't automatically post it as paid is because we have transactions that are being declined. Okay? There are transactions that even though they're accepted, they still have to go through the entire chain process, e-checks, We have numerous transactions come back because of errors with the routing number or the account number or the account type being inputted. So we don't post an update to the internet until we are fully confident the funds have settled to our bank account. So please contact me tomorrow so I can look into the particular situation that you're referring to.
Okay.
Okay?
I say that reluctantly. Okay, we'll have a conversation.
We have to have that conversation.
We do, because,
Because also the other thing is that operationally on Friday and Monday, the best that we could do was take the payments coming in the door. We had so many taxpayers coming in on Friday. We had so many taxpayers coming in on Monday. We still had AP rolling out. We have a huge payroll rolling out on Friday. So operationally, we don't come to a complete standstill. We have to prioritize priorities. So I know that on Friday and Monday, they were a little bit delayed in loading that up, but because they didn't have time to sit down and log into the bank system and verify that those payments has settled, because our priority at that point in time was taking care of our taxpayers that were walking in to make payments. So, but I really do want to look into that particular situation, so call me in the office tomorrow.
okay,
Okay, all right.
maybe. I'll look at it, I'll look at it again and see if there's still fees or fines they haven't settled yet.
Well, as soon as, and any payment that any payment that is mailed prior to or on the due date, even though it may take 10 days to travel through the mail and get posted and get reconciled, because today I'm working on a 10-page report of invalid parcel numbers, payments that are coming in, electronic payments from banks that are coming in, taxpayer goes on to bill pay, creates an electronic transaction, the bank issues a check, but when it is not sent with coupon and it has an incorrect parcel number, they can't post it. It goes into a 0 category, and every one of those has to be manually looked up. 10 pages of those today. So, I mean, we're talking about 68,000 parcels, and a lot of them come in at the very last minute. And there's a lot of little details, little things that we have to manage through, as well as continue to operate an office that has tremendous responsibility for the county with a very small staff. So call me so I can look into it. Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions? Very good. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Now, we will go to 4D1A, Kathy Michael, and that's request approval of license agreement with Eastland Mall LLC. I'm assuming that's because we are going to use them again for early voting. Is that correct? All right. So may I have a motion? We have a motion by Member Rogal, and I have a second by Vice Chair Lehman. And do you have anything to share with us on that topic?
No, thank you. But if
Okay.
you want to sign up to be an election judge, please let me know. We're going to need a lot, and we're excited, a little bit scared, and but because we anticipate one of the largest turnouts that we've ever seen. What do you guys think? I guess I shouldn't ask questions, should I? So we're excited about it, and we start early voting as early as February 8th, 40 days before Election Day. So we're happy to have the mall again because it's so popular. It really went well with the public, so thank you.
Okay, very good. So any questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the license agreement with Eastland Mall, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to 4D1B, and that's request approval of a software license and maintenance services agreement. And that's found on page 27 through 46. And may I have a motion for that? I have a motion by Member Rogal and a second by Member Friedrich. So, you want to share, this is for,
Voter registration?
yes, the voter registration. I'm sorry, it was not coming to my brain right then. Thank you.
That's okay. Yeah, it's a upgrade of the system that was overdue, and the old one called VMAC was going out of business, so to speak, so it had to be replaced. So this is the same company, GBS, with an upgrade of the system.
Any questions? Don't think there's any other option, right? We kind of have to do this, so. No questions? All in favor of 4D1B, say aye. Opposed? All right, no opposition, so the motion passes. And is there anything else? You did say just now that we need more election judges, so you will, I'm sure, go out and rattle cages and talk to some people, but anything else?
No, we're rattling right now, and we're already getting feedback, which is really nice. And we started the day after the April election, anticipating how busy we're going to be. So if you can help spread the word, that would be great. They get a whopping $20 more. We have no idea why, but we're very thankful. So judges will get $220 for their very long day. And we appreciate any shout-outs that we can get. Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you so very much. And again, your staff, as we look at those reports, lots of numbers. Oh, Mr. Rogal, please.
Sorry, I just have a quick question. In kind of that same vein of election judges, with the county looking at adding 11 or so precincts, have you looked at the potential for whether or not there's going to be new polling places needed? I assume there's already going to be new election judges needed for all of those precincts, but whether or not there'll be needed polling places as well, and what kind of cost that might be for you.
Don't know yet. Thank you for asking. I think some of the precincts are still being reviewed. If it stays at 11, legally, we are required to do our best to get 5 election judges for each new precinct, so 55 more. But again, that's a work in motion, I think, and the maps are going to be finalized here shortly, and we'll go from there. On our first glance, it looks like most of the polling places will be able to fit everybody, so that's what our hope is. So we'll keep everybody posted as soon as we get the final remarks about the precincts.
So you think there will be 2 or 3 precincts potentially in one location, is what you're...
Well, we
Or
have
could
2 or
the-
3 and 4 precincts in some locations now, and kind of looks like the way they're situated. You just have to look at the numbers, and when we get the final numbers, we'll have to see if we have to change any polling places. Right now, it looks pretty good, but we'll certainly keep everybody posted.
Okay. Any other questions? Very good. Thank you so very much. Moving on to 4E, and that's Marshall Thompson. And she has no action items, but her reports are in here as always, and up to date as always. So thank you very much. Do you have anything that you want to share with us?
We're trending higher in our numbers, so seems to be creeping up a little bit there, but we're managing everything with a dedicated staff. We do have 2 events that we're announcing that will be at Raiders Family Farm on the 10th, this Saturday, from 11 to 4, and the 17th from 11 to 4. So if you want to see some fun and exciting things, stop on out and visit, or bring the family. There'll be a lot of kittens there from Animal Control, as well as some other things that Raiders is doing. They host Animal Control and do a lot of good public promotions for us. So excited to partner with them for those types of events.
Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Thompson? Or any comments on reports or anything? Doesn't appear that way, so thank you very much. Appreciate everything that you and your staff do.
Thank
So,
you. And you know, people looking for animals, send them to our Facebook page. We got a lot of fun photos there and opportunities and volunteer applications and foster programs. So thank you for what you do as well.
Perfect, thank you. Moving on to 4F, that's County Administrator Cassie Taylor. And we have a action item 4F 1A, request approval of position reclassification with the Children's Advocacy Center. And that's found on page 60 through 69. And may I have a motion for that? We have a motion by Member Lehman and a second by Member Friedrich. And Ms. Taylor, please.
Thank you, Chair Metzger. I present this on behalf of Molly Evans from CAC. She has made this request for a change to her grant funds, so I'd like to reiterate that these are 100% grant-funded positions that she has reorganized within the roles and responsibilities within her department. They attempted to try some changes to the positions in previous years and found that those responsibilities needed to be shifted back from recommendations within the team, but also strengths of the staff that she has.
Questions? Seeing no questions, all in favor of 4F1A, say aye. Opposed? Very good, motion passes.
Thank you.
We will move on now to 4F1B, request approval of position reclassification within the Facilities Department. And that's found on page 70 through 74. And may I have a motion? We have a motion by Member Rogel and a second by Member Roseman. And Ms. Taylor.
Thank you. This request is being brought by administration on behalf of our brand-new Facilities Director, Joe Gaither. He took his position he moved from the interim director to the chosen full-time director on Monday. And in looking at the organization of that department, as well as reviewing with him the numerous projects that we have currently for the county, it became apparent that having an established mechanic that is going to be focusing on projects would better serve the needs of his department. And so the request is to reduce a mechanic 2 position that is currently vacant and replacing that by a reclassified position for a facilities project manager. It is budget neutral with the changes in our staff.
That's where I
And the
was.
changes with personnel. We were able to make this budget neutral action.
This is a higher position for a mechanic, but it does not impact the budget.
It's a budget neutral action for this fiscal year, yes.
Okay.
Additionally,
They're not going to replace the one ever?
correct. We would leave that position vacant. We were having a difficult time finding someone to fill that position. And this position, I think, would meet the needs of the projects on an administrative level and allow the foreman to go back to leading teams as opposed to doing administrative tasks. So,
But if we were just having trouble filling a position and that's why we didn't fill it, we still need that position, is that correct? And we're just not filling it? You
we're
said
replacing it. So instead of having a mechanic, we are going to have a facilities project manager.
So the mechanics were doing project management as a role within that job previously?
Some,
Okay,
Yes.
okay. All right. Any additional questions? All right, seeing none, all in favor of 4F 1B, reclassification in the Facilities Department, say aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes. And other business or other items for presentation, I think you have something you handed out to us, is that
Yes,
correct?
I have two other bits of information I'd like to share with this committee. The first being that we will be in need of a stand-up for the Finance Committee to review a Class C raffle that came in. And so we will have that prepared and ready for you for your review at stand-up. The other bit of information, it's not that it matters as far as the approval process, but it's for Habitat for Humanity. The next bit of information I'd like to share with you is passed out to you at your chairs, and it is a graph that indicates the past 10 years with revenues and expenses for the nursing home. We had a lengthy discussion last month regarding the nursing home, and we were able to have a meeting with a board member and Mr. Tim Wiley to review some of the anticipated outcomes and projections if we continue to move forward with the stability that we have shown in the last year and a half, 2 years. And so all this information comes from your general ledger. This is information that's been presented by the treasurer and then to the health department in more detail, the health committee in more detail. And so this isn't new information. However, it was information that we compiled a little bit differently so that it was easy to understand. So if you're looking at that first graphic that says years 2013 through 2022, you will see that the graphic very clearly delineates the years where our expenses were above our revenues. And then at the bottom of the page where you see the net income line, when that net income line is at the zero mark or even slightly above, then I feel that we're doing our work and our mission for the nursing home to break even. And so we are stabilizing that net income in a way that I think is showing real progress.
Do we have questions related to this particular? I do like this, thank you. I think it's visually makes it, as you identified, easy to understand, and the more detailed information is in the graph or in the chart below. So I appreciate that very much. So please, all those who worked on this, thank you. Any questions? All right, seeing none, our next meeting will be July 5th. So after staying up late and seeing the fireworks and eating all the hot dogs and hamburgers that you want, please come prepared for a meeting at 4:30 on July 5th. Thank you very much, and the meeting is adjourned.